All right, guys and girls, we're going to talk about dividing polynomials today, which are still part of the rational function chapter. So before we do the warm-up together, Team Earth on the field trip. I get them all mixed up. Team Earth, just so you know, I handed grade sheets out. You'll see yours tomorrow. Make sure when you come into class you check them so there's not any mistakes. For everyone, on Thursday, because Wednesday is field trip day, on Thursday I have a quiz scheduled. If the behavior is good, most of that's just going to be extra credit for this chapter. So let's see how today goes and tomorrow goes. Wednesday I won't see you. So we're not going to do a big review in class, but we'll do some problems together. It just won't be an entire class review. So the furthest information that we're going to get through is up to 12.4. Okay? We're not going to go any further than that in the chapter. Okay? So Thursday, some kind of assessment / extra credit. It will not take the whole period. So I'll bring some movies in and we'll hang out here at the end of the week. Okay? All right, so the warm-up, let's do this together, because in case you guys forget because it's Monday. So we need to determine the asymptotes, domain, and range of the graph of the function. So what is the restriction on the x, and how do we know that? Anastasia? Go ahead, keep going. Good. How do you know that? Good job. So x cannot be 3, so the vertical asymptote is x equals 3. The easiest way to do that is take the denominator, x minus 3, set it equal to 0, and solve. You get x equals 3. Okay, Luke C., what is the y asymptote? Okay, so the y asymptote is y equals 1. So if we go down to domain and range, domain is all real numbers except 3. And I'm just abbreviating here. Range is all real numbers except 1. So you guys basically said the same thing. Remember, x is always the opposite of this, and this is always the y asymptote. So it's always the restrictions. Remember, the graph is going to get really, really close to it, but it's never going to touch it. Luke. Oh. That's okay. I'm not worried about that. That's okay. Just for now, know that. Don't do that on the either extra credit or quiz that we have on Thursday. Okay? Anyone else? Okay. All right, let's go over your homework. I'm just going to read through them. That way we have some time to talk about long division. Number 13, I only have the asymptotes up here, so I'll also read the domain and range. So 13, x equals 6, y equals 4. Those are the asymptotes. Domain is all real numbers except 6. Range is all real numbers except 4. Number 14, x equals -5, y equals -6. Domain is all real numbers except -5. Range is all real numbers except -6. 15, x equals 3, y equals -8. Domain is all real numbers except 3. Range is all real numbers except -8. 16, x equals -7, y is 7. So domain, all real numbers except -7. Range, all real numbers except 7. 17, x is 8, y is 12. Domain, all real numbers except 8. Range, all real numbers except 12. 18, x equals -5, y is 10. Domain, all real numbers except -5. Range, all real numbers except 10. Questions on this part before I go to the next page? Eric, you with me? Okay, 19, x equals 14, y equals 1. Domain, all real numbers except 14. Range, all real numbers except 1. 20, x is -12, y is -3. Domain is all real numbers except -12. Range is all real numbers except -3. 21, x equals 5, y equals -14. Domain is all real numbers except 5. Range is all real numbers except -14. And it will be something as easy as these that you'll see on Thursday for section 12 too. If you have to graph something, it would just be sketch a graph. You won't have to make a table or anything. I think that's tedious. Okay, 22, just look at mine for 22. Your graph should look like that. The asymptotes are x equals 0 and y equals 5. 23, also check that. There was one mistake on mine. The asymptotes are right here. X equals 4 and y equals 2. So make sure your graph looks like mine. Positive inverse function. 24, the asymptotes are x equals -6 and y equals -1. Questions on any of those? Pretty easy? Yeah, okay. And then word problems. 25, if you have y and x, this should be y and this should be x. So y equals 515 over x plus 14.5. And then C, if 20 people go on the trip, it will be $40.25 per person would be the cost. Okay, and then 26, last one you guys had to do, y equals 450 over 4 plus x. This one's a little bit different because the people are scheduled to work together. So it's like they're a group. We're dividing it between the entire group. And then the answer for C is 75 pizzas. The graph you could have just sketched by using your calculator or just put random points on. Does not have to be perfect. Remember, the importance of this is to just get you guys introduced to this chapter. I don't need your graphs to be exactly perfect. Brian B? I will let you know tomorrow. Is that okay? If there are, they won't be any harder than the ones we've done, but I'm not sure about that yet. Luke B? Okay. Okay. All I want you to do, Luke B, for this year, just graph it on your calculator and hit enter. Now, if you graph it on your calculator, make sure that the denominator is in parentheses. Okay. You can also plug numbers in. I just usually plug numbers in and plot a couple points. Okay. I would at some point try that again, make sure that you're getting what I had up there. Anyone else? So Brian B, remind me tomorrow to let you know about the word problem. All right. Everyone's good? Okay, 12.3 is much more straightforward. So go ahead and open up your notes to 12.3. We're going to skip the warm-up since we already did one. We are going away from asymptotes for a little bit, as well as domain and range. The book now takes us to, okay, now we're dividing polynomials. So how do you do this? We're just going to go through a couple of these, and then I'm going to have you practice some. No. All right, so dividing polynomials, it's page 17 in your note packets. We're going to skip the warm-up since we already did one. The first thing I want you to write down is we are going to divide a polynomial by a monomial. And I kind of want you guys to take a look at this. You technically already know how to do this, you just might not realize it. Anyone have any ideas for letter A? If we're taking a polynomial and dividing it by a monomial, what's one method or strategy, Luke B, that we could use? Okay, good. We could use long division. What else could we use? Anastasia? Yeah, you could just divide in your head. So you could use long division, which, let me show you, would look like this. Okay? So there's one way. Or, like Anastasia said, for letter A, we could do, so let me put it here, 6x cubed plus 3x squared minus 12x, like this. So hold on, don't do one of them yet. I'll tell you what I like better in a second. So ready? Long division. Or you could break this down into a fraction, a fraction, a fraction in your head. Do you guys remember that from last year? Okay. Raise your hand if you think you prefer long division. Raise your hand if you prefer this method. All right, let's do this method. If you want to do long division, go ahead and do it. And you can just check with the way that we're doing it. So we're going to divide each of these. So when you divide, same base, what happens to exponents? You guys remember? Kyle? Good, subtract. So let's do 6 divided by 3 is 2. X to the third divided by x is x to the second. Do you see how I got that? I did 6x cubed divided by 3x. 6 divided by 3 is 2. X cubed divided by x is x squared, because 3 minus 1 is 2. All right, 3x squared divided by 3x. 3 divided by 3 is 1. X squared divided by x is x. And then negative 12x divided by 3x. Negative 12 divided by 3 is negative 4. X divided by x is nothing. That's your answer for the letter A. Isn't that easy? Yeah. We have to do long division in a second here, but just not yet. So questions on A. Okay, let's go to letter C. Luke B, you okay? Sure? Okay. Letter C. So 6x cubed minus 12x squared plus 9x, all divided by 3x. And this is actually the way that I prefer it. I usually just do it in my head like Anastasia said, and I don't write all this out. But please, until you feel like you know what you're doing, write it out, okay? All right, so Will, what's 6x cubed divided by 3x? Good job. Jared, what's negative 12x squared divided by 3x? Good. Andy, what's 9x divided by 3x? Good. Any questions on that one? Okay, I want you guys to try letter D, then we're going to flip over. So try letter D, then we're going to flip over. If you haven't already, that is. Yeah. All right, Brian C., what'd you get for D? Good job. Any questions on that? Okay, flip over. Example 2, dividing a polynomial by a binomial. Now these ones you have to do long division. So we'll do hopefully just 2 of these, but let's see how you guys do. Now on these ones we're going to have remainders. So these are not fun. They're not pretty, I should say. They could be fun, they're just not pretty. So letter E, we have a polynomial divided by a binomial. Please make sure the binomial is always in front. Okay, you first need to ask yourself, how many times does A go into A squared? So Brianna, how many times does A go into A squared? Think of it this way. What's A squared divided by A is how I should ask you. What's A squared divided by A? A. So maybe you meant that when you said once. Is that what you meant? Okay. So A goes into A squared A times, because A times A is A squared. So you now do, and it's been a while, A times A is A squared. A times 1 is A. I'll explain that again. Okay, let me go through that again. So I asked Brianna, how many times does A go into A squared? She said once, which means A times. A goes into A squared A times, because A times A is A squared. So you write the A up here. You then, to get what goes here that I use the black marker for, you multiply. A times A is A squared. A times 1 is A. Hold on. Is everyone with me on this part? Will, you serious? Okay. Luke C. Sorry. Okay, Will, ready? You ask yourself, A goes into A squared how many times? A times. So you write the A up here. A times A is A squared. A times 1 is A. Okay. Is everyone with me? Now Alina? You have to do long division on these ones. Have to. Okay, so you now subtract. This term must always be 0. A squared minus A squared is 0. 3A minus A is 2A. And then you drop down the minus 4. No, we're not done yet. So we now go through the same process again. Okay, how many times does A go into 2A? Luke B. So A times what gives you 2A? 2. So this is now a plus 2, because A goes into 2A 2 times. We now take this 2 and we multiply it by each of these terms. So 2 times a is 2a. 2 times 1 is 2. It's a positive 2, so you need to have a plus there. We always subtract these terms. So 2a minus 2a is 0. Be careful here. Negative 4 minus 2 is negative 6. There's nothing else to drop down. Negative 6 is the remainder. So does anyone remember, what do we put underneath the negative 6 if that's our remainder? Anastasia? Awesome. A plus 1. So this that I'm putting a box around in green is our answer. So a plus 2, and then remainder, negative 6 over a plus 1. Luke B. Yeah. Yep. 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 It's going to get harder. Not with me this year, because we don't have enough time. But in Algebra 2, yes. Maybe I'll have you guys in Algebra 2. We'll hope that. I'll hope that. Maybe not you. Hey. Could be. Could be. Does anyone have questions on E, Will, and Luke C? Are you guys paying attention? No. Okay. Do you both know what you're doing? Okay. Yeah. Okay, let's do letter F together. And then I'm going to have you guys maybe try one on your own. Do I have enough room up here? Yeah. Okay, so 3b minus 4 divided by 9b squared plus 6b plus 8. Okay, so I'll go slowly again. So you ask yourself first, 3b goes into 9b how many times? Andy. Good. 3 what? Good. 3b times. So it goes in 3b times because 3b times 3b is 9b squared. You always want these to cancel. You now need to do 3b times negative 4, which is negative 12b. So after you multiply the 3b by the binomial, you're going to subtract these two terms together. 9b squared minus 9b squared is 0. 6b minus negative 12b is 18b. And then you need to drop down the positive 8. Will, did I lose you? Are you okay? Okay. Is everyone, let me stop for a second. Is everyone okay? Eric? How I got 18b? 6b minus negative 12b. You always, just like regular long division, you always subtract. That's why I don't like for you guys to do long division with just the monomial, because it's much easier to just do it by dividing it with the fractions. This does get to be a little bit confusing. Okay, 3b, Brian V, goes into 18b how many times? Good, so positive 6 times. At this point, you take the 6, you multiply it by the binomial. 6 times 3b is 18b. 6 times negative 4 is negative 24. We are always subtracting. So we're going to subtract. 18b minus 18b is 0. What's 8 minus negative 24? Anastasia? Good. So 32. Remember, you're always subtracting. So we have 3b plus 6, and then a remainder of 32 over 3b minus 4. So our answer is 3b plus 6. Remainder 32, always over the binomial, 3b minus 4. Brianna. Nope, just like that. And you can even, I probably should have written it below it, but you can keep it up there since we're not getting into too much detail with this. Anyone else? Okay, I want you guys to try just letter G on your own. No. Try letter G on your own. And I'll go over it after I see that you guys have at least attempted it. This one will not have a remainder if you do it correctly. What's x times 3? Should be 3x. Careful. Is that what you got? Awesome. That's right. Good job. Good job. Good job. Good. Good job. Will, did you have a question or are you done? Okay. I didn't know if you had a question or not. Awesome. Okay. Brian, you done? Or do you have a question? Oh, sorry. No. What's x minus 3x? You just didn't subtract. Negative 2x. Okay, you just did that wrong. All right, let me start to go over this. Luke B. All right, Eric, how many times does x go into x squared? Good. Andy, what's the next step? If x goes into x squared x times, what do we do next? Good, and? Good job. At this point, you subtract. So x squared minus x squared is 0. X minus 3x is negative 2x. Drop down the negative 6. Maddie, how many times does x go into negative 2x? Good. So minus 2. When you multiply them, we get negative 2x minus 6. Don't forget, you need to subtract those two binomials. You get 0, which means there's not a remainder. So your answer for letter G is just x minus 2. Getting a little bit easier? Yeah. Okay, let me pick a harder one. Okay, let's do letter I first. Letter I said. Okay, letter I. What is one thing you notice about letter I that's different than the other ones we've done? Luke B? Yeah, it's not in standard form. The first thing that I highly recommend that you do, that you don't have to do, but it would make your life a lot easier, is put them in standard form. So that would leave it as 2m plus 5, and then in the division bracket, division house, 4m squared plus 8m minus 7. So I would put them, try to remember, put them in standard form, then go through the process. So let's do this one together. You will have a remainder on this one. So 2m goes into 4m squared 2m times. 2m times 2m is 4m squared. 2m times 5 is 10m. And then remember, you're always subtracting. 4m squared minus 4m squared is 0. 8m minus 10m is negative 2m. Drop down the negative 7. And then you ask yourself, 2m goes into negative 2m how many times? Goes into it negative 1 times. Negative 1 times 2m is negative 2m. Negative 1 times 5 is negative 5. You're subtracting all of that, so negative 2m, which is technically plus 2m, is 0. Negative 7 plus 7 is negative 2. So we end up with the remainder of negative 2. What, Brian, see? Okay. Okay, so your answer is 2m minus 1, and then remainder of negative 2 over 2m plus 5. So the only thing different with that is please make sure they're in standard form. We're going to do one more together. Questions on that before we do? Okay, let's do letter K. I'm not going to worry about word problems for today, because I just want you guys to be good with this. Okay, letter K should actually have a parenthesis in front of the 16. But again, with this one, make sure they're both in standard form. Before we go and solve this one, what is this one missing that the other ones have? Luke B? It's missing the B term, right? For our quadratic function, it's missing the middle term. But so what? You still do it the exact same way. Now, what I should do, and you don't have to do this, but some teachers will have you guys put like a plus 0 here because there's not a B term. So if you want to put a plus 0, technically plus 0y, you can do that. That's completely up to you. Me, when I do this by myself, that ends up confusing me more, especially when the division gets to be really long. So that's up to you. You guys are smart enough to decide what you like better. So I'll leave it there just in case you guys like it. Same process. You don't like it there, Luke? Raise your hand if you do not like the 0 there. Okay, it's like half and half, so I'll leave it there. All right, 4y goes into 16y squared, 4y times. So we need to multiply. 4y times 4y is 16y squared. 4y times 3 is positive 12y. So same process, but we just don't have a y term to subtract from. So 16y squared minus 16y squared is 0. 0 minus 12y is negative 12y. So if I didn't put the 0 there, I just in my head say, okay, there's not a y term here. So 0 minus 12y is just negative 12y. The negative 7 still needs to be dropped down. So make sure you drop that down. Now we go through the same process again. 4y goes into negative 12y minus 3 times. So now we multiply that negative 3 by each term in the binomial. We get negative 12y minus 9. We are subtracting those. This becomes 0. This becomes 2. So our remainder is 2. And we leave 4y plus 3 underneath it. Questions on that one? Do you think that one's any harder than the other ones? Okay. All right, we're going to start homework. You guys good? Okay, we're not going to worry about word problems for today. Okay, in your homework packet, sorry about not having page numbers, 12.3, it's the regular 12.3. I only want you to do okay, here's why. I just want you guys to practice the long division. Remember, if it's divided by a monomial, your choice if you want to do long division or not. You have 10 minutes. You have plenty of time. Tomorrow I'll go over this. We probably will just do one word problem together. And then I want to show you 12.4, and that'll be it for your quiz/extra credit assignment on Thursday. Let me stop this, and then I'll